I think you see playmaking ability. I think you see a player that is confident in his skill set. So when you see that playmaking ability and inner confidence, you say, okay, there's something to work with there.
Last week at the league meetings, we also learned that Shedeur has been in the building, in the facility, while Dillon Gabriel is not. And Deshaun Watson was there and he wasn't, but he's been working out with the receivers. So Kevin, speaking with Monken, do you think Shedeur Sanders should be the starter in Cleveland coming out of this thing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I wouldn't bring anybody else into that room. I would not include Deshaun Watson in this quarterback competition. I think it's a waste of time for everybody as far as what the Browns are trying to build. I also think it's chasing after justifying that decision and trying to make it look better than it actually was.
The tension in Cleveland just hit another level. And this time, it's not coming from inside the locker room. It's coming straight from the media. When Rex Ryan says that Shedeur Sanders needs to be QB1 for the Cleveland Browns, that's not just a take, that's a challenge to everything this organization thought it was building. Here's the part nobody's talking about. This isn't really about choosing between Shedeur and Deshaun Watson. It's about identity. It's about whether Cleveland is ready to move forward or stay tied to a past that hasn't delivered what it promised. Because let's be real, Watson was brought in to be the franchise savior. Massive contract, huge expectations, and so far, it's been inconsistent at best.
Anybody these days, but Carnell Tate would be a fit with an offense with Shedeur Sanders in the short term. Shedeur Sanders likes to hold on to the ball a long time. Carnell Tate's going to get open downfield. He runs really good routes. He works his way back to the ball. Give me that, then offensive line help in the 20s later in the draft, maybe trade back.
Now let's introduce the moment that changed everything. Rex Ryan didn't just casually mention Shedeur. He basically said what a lot of people are starting to think but haven't fully said out loud, that the Browns might actually be better off handing the keys to the young guy. That's a bold statement, especially when you're talking about benching a high-paid veteran for someone still trying to prove himself. This is where it gets dangerous, because once that idea is out there, you can't put it back. Fans start debating it, analysts start picking sides, and most importantly, players in the locker room start noticing. Quarterback battles aren't just about talent, they're about belief. Who do guys rally around? Who do they trust when the game is on the line?
For Shedeur, I think it should be Dillon Gabriel versus Shedeur in camp. Shedeur wins that competition 100 times out of 100. He has a higher ceiling. He showed better film last year. I just feel like, listen, maybe he's not your franchise guy for the next 10 years, but in 2026, let's see what he can do. I'm going with Shedeur. Give him a tryout, give him a long runway, give him that confidence, with that playmaking ability and that confidence that Monken describes shine through.
And according to a lot of recent chatter, Shedeur has something you can't teach: presence, leadership, that it factor. You hear teammates talk about energy, confidence, swagger, things that don't show up on a stat sheet but absolutely change how a team plays. Here's the part nobody wants to admit. Sometimes a quarterback wins the locker room before he wins the stat battle, and that might be exactly what's happening here. Now let's break down the actual football side of this, because it matters. Watson at his peak was elite, no question, but that version of him hasn't consistently shown up in Cleveland. Injuries, rust, system fit, whatever the reason, the production hasn't matched the investment. And in the NFL, patience runs out fast.
Harry, how do you see that quarterback battle in Cleveland shaping up?
Well, I think for Shedeur, number one, you're dealing with the play caller and the guy that's your head coach that wanted you with the Baltimore Ravens. That's a plus.
On the other hand, Shedeur Sanders is still raw, still developing, but he's shown flashes. Big throws, composure under pressure, the ability to make plays when things break down, and more importantly, he looks like a quarterback who believes he belongs. This is where young players usually make a mistake. They try to do too much too early. They press, they force throws, they let the moment overwhelm them. But what's interesting about Shedeur is that he doesn't seem to play like that. Even when things aren't perfect, he carries himself like QB1, and that matters more than people think. Now, let's talk about Rex Ryan again, because his comments weren't random. He's been around the league. He understands how teams operate. When he says Shedeur should start, he's not just evaluating talent, he's reading the situation. He's looking at momentum. He's looking at the direction of the team.
I would start with Shedeur Sanders in pole position, and he would be my QB1 starting the offseason program. But he's going to have to earn that and keep it. If Deshaun Watson comes out there and proves he's the best quarterback in the room, why wouldn't you allow him to go out there and play?
Ben,
Here's the part nobody is talking about. Starting Shedeur isn't just a football decision, it's a statement. It tells the team we're building for now and the future. It tells the fans we're not afraid to make a tough call. And it tells Watson nothing is guaranteed. And that's where things get uncomfortable. Because if you bench Watson, you're not just making a lineup change. You're admitting something didn't work. You're acknowledging that the plan you committed to might not be the right one anymore. And for any front office, that's a hard pill to swallow. But this is where it gets dangerous again, because not making that move could be even worse. If Shedeur is truly giving the team a better chance to win and you hold him back because of contracts or reputation, you risk losing the locker room. Players notice that stuff. They know who gives them the best shot. And once that belief shifts, it's hard to get it back. Now, zoom out and look at the bigger picture. The NFL is changing. Younger quarterbacks are stepping in and making immediate impacts. Teams aren't waiting 3 or 4 years anymore. If a guy can play, he plays. Simple as that. And Cleveland is stuck in the middle of that transition. They have the veteran with the resume and the young quarterback with the momentum. This is where it gets really interesting, because you can feel the narrative shifting. A few weeks ago, this wasn't even a debate. Watson was QB1, no questions asked. Now, it's a conversation. And once it becomes a conversation, it becomes a possibility. Here's the part nobody is talking about. Timing is everything. Training camp, preseason reps, practice performances. These moments will decide everything. And according to insiders, even the players can tell who gives them the best chance to win. That's not something coaches can hide. Now, let's connect this to the team's future, because this decision goes beyond just one season. If Shedeur becomes QB1 and succeeds, you've potentially found your long-term answer. You've reset the direction of the franchise. But if you stick with Watson and things don't improve, you're delaying the inevitable. And in the NFL, delay usually means regret. This is where young teams and even veteran teams make their biggest mistake. They hold on to what was instead of embracing what could be. They let past investments dictate future decisions, and more often than not, that backfires. Cleveland has a chance to avoid that, but it won't be easy, because no matter what they choose, there's risk. Start Shedeur and you risk putting too much pressure on a young quarterback. Stick with Watson and you risk missing out on something special. And that's why Rex Ryan's comments hit so hard, because he's forcing the question everyone is starting to ask. Are the Browns ready to make the bold move? Or are they going to play it safe and hope things magically fix themselves? Because here's the reality. Quarterback battles don't stay quiet. They don't stay internal. They grow. They take over headlines. They divide fan bases. And eventually, they force a decision. So now it comes down to this. If Shedeur Sanders really is giving the Cleveland Browns the best chance to win, do you have the courage to start him? Or do you stick with Deshaun Watson and risk watching the future sit on the bench? Because whichever choice they make, it's going to define the Browns' season and maybe their entire future.